The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Metal Show.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Welcome to the show for Tuesday. God, it's already into Tuesday, the 23rd of February, 2016. Yeehaw! Marijuana. I said weed. You're going to call it pot? I don't care what you call it. Just don't call me late for dinner or the smoke session. I'm Steve Green, and boy, we got a lot to talk about today. Right off the top of the bat here, can you imagine your county asking the state to help kick in some scholarship funds for marijuana scholarships? Whoa, wait a minute. Now, do those two words have a hard time being formed by the same tongue and lips and palate? Marijuana scholarships. Now, wait a minute. Are you teaching my kid about weed? Is that what you're doing? Are you schooling up my kid on dope? Wait a minute. Hang on to your panties, Grandma. Nothing of the sort's going on. I'm pretty sure that your kid already knows more about weed than you do. Just going to go out on a limb there and say that much. Then the other thing is what they're doing is they're funding scholarships to go to regular school from the proceeds of cannabis sales. This happens to be Pueblo County in Colorado. Marijuana scholarships. Oh, the whole world's going to explode. What did you just say? You got it right. You don't have to rub your ears. Because I'm pretty sure they were correct in what they heard the first time. I think what the county wanted to know, more specifically, excuse me. A little smoker's cough for you. I think what the county wanted to know more specifically is how that affects their money coming from the federal government. Right? If you're funding schools, chances are your state's giving you money that came from the federal government that has federal strings attached. And the federal government's probably directly contributing money, also with federal strings attached, all of which say marijuana bad. Let me give you an overview of this out of Pueblo County, Colorado today. This is from News 13.
Asking for state money for a college scholarship paid for with marijuana tax money. The county commissioners addressed it today. The scholarship is the first of its kind in the U.S. They're asking the organization called the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative to match the scholarship money the county's putting up. Right now, the scholarship has $50,000 of marijuana tax money in it. The Pueblo Hispanic Education Foundation is teaming up with the county on this.
As you know, growing tuition rates and decreased funding, and so this is not an opportunity that we always come across with the ability to afford more scholarships to students.
The tax on recreational marijuana grows was approved by voters.
See, I just want to kill whoever's running the audio there at News Channel 13 in apparently someplace in Pueblo, Colorado. Heads up to News 13 for covering the story. Thumbs down to News Channel 13 for bad audio practices. Look, the story begins chopped off. The story ends chopped off. And even the piece that appears in the middle, as reported by the reporter who was chopped off, is chopped off. It's a good thing that I give you the rest. just by telling you through the microphone. It might be just a tad bit easier. Let's explore, shall we? Newsflash. Dateline, Pueblo County, Colorado. Again, this is according to KRDO, News Channel 13. Pueblo County wants the state to give more people scholarships that's being funded by marijuana tax money. Okay, I'm also going to chastise News Channel 13 for grammar. Just terrible grammar coming out of Pueblo, Colorado. So what's wrong with this sentence? You tell me. I'm a grammar Nazi, but you tell me what's wrong with this headlining sentence. It's the first sentence in their TV story published. Pueblo County wants the state, they didn't even say, okay, Pueblo County wants state money to give more people scholarships that's being funded by marijuana tax money. Pueblo County wants state money to give more people scholarships that's being funded by marijuana tax money. I'll tell you, it's a subject-verb agreement. That's what it is. That's the problem there. It should be to give more people scholarships that are being funded, not that is being funded. Scholarships are, scholarships aren't is. You can't say scholarships is funded. You can say scholarships are funded. So more people scholarships that are, could be contracted, THAT apostrophe RE, being funded by state marijuana tax money. Horrible, horrible audio and grammar from the News Channel 13. Sorry, I just got to call you out on that. The county commissioner addressed it Monday. The scholarship is the first of its kind. They're asking an organization called the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative to match the scholarship money the county is collecting. Right now, the scholarship has $50,000 of the marijuana tax money in it already. But they're going to add matching money to it, so that would make it, I guess, $100,000. And then they're asking the state to kick in some more marijuana tax money to lift that scholarship number higher. In fact, the county is projecting to have more than $700,000 between the pot tax money and state funding in 2017. The Pueblo Hispanic Education Foundation is teaming up with the county in the scholarship process. We have such need in the community. I think she actually read that on the air. They asked CSU Pueblo and Pueblo Community College if accepting marijuana scholarships would come with any violations from the federal government. CSUP and PCC said they wouldn't, since the money's coming from the county. They said the marijuana tax money is put into the county's general fund, which can be used for whatever the county chooses. So that's how they're answering that question. They've commingled the marijuana money with other tax money so that by the time it's spent, you can't tell which pennies came from pot and which pennies came from pound. I mean from producer. I mean from public. Sometimes you can play word games. I think it's exciting that people are starting to talk about pot and its proceeds being used in ways that help people. That's kind of important. Now, does it say much? I'm just going to say it probably doesn't. Does it say much for the news organization? Remember, these are journalists. Oh, you can't ding me while I'm on the air. Oh, there we go. I just unplugged the phone. So, the news journalists, these are people who went to communications school, presumably said school would have included grammar and journalistic principles, including containing the entire story, not just a portion of it. You can't just take the middle out, leave the beginning and the end off. All stories must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's journalism storytelling 101. It might even be 100 or even 99. It might be a prerequisite to journalism school that you understand you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to the story. And all I'm saying is this is Pueblo County pre-pot. I'm assuming none of these people got their grammar errors in going to school in a pot liberal society. Yet somehow, if the reverse had happened, if this was all grammatically correct and the audio was posted properly, both inside the reporter's story and online in Toll, that perhaps it would probably be said that, oh, the pot caused the grammatical errors. I'm going to, interestingly enough, go back in a couple of years and check on News Channel 13 and see if they've got any more problems with posting audio and or speaking properly in a written way. It tain't that hard, I'll tell you. Okay, so what do we got to do? We got lots of stuff to talk about on today's program amongst it, besides that story we just did. Wyoming Senate wrestling now with outlawing marijuana edibles. This is a story that is never going to end. From one state to the next, you're going to hear the medical story run its course. We'll tell you about today's version. Lawmakers in Utah advancing broad medical marijuana legislation. Got to take a look at that. That's another Fox 13. The other one was News Channel 13. This is Fox 13. What's up with all the 13s? Why they couldn't have skipped past 13 on the television dial and made it go from 12 to 14? Because I just don't like the 13. I never watched Channel 13 on a regular TV because I always thought that it was unlucky. Also, we didn't have a Channel 13. So, Fairport doctor prescribing medical marijuana for patients can't help his own son. That's a problem. We'll talk about these stories. And then there was Ohio. A few states have this moniker, but in politics, the saying goes, so goes Ohio, so goes the rest of the nation. And we're talking specifically about, I guess, presidential politics. No president, what is it? I got to look this up, too, because I am not familiar with this statistic other than repeating it. So I have no idea from whence the statistic came. I didn't do any research on this stat. But it seems to me that all the political talking heads say that no state, no president has won the presidential election in, I don't know, how many years without also winning Ohio. So in other words, if you don't win Ohio in the presidential election, chances are you're not going to get to be president, or so the stats say. Say people who record stats. And so we want to talk about the Ohio question because it's gotten crazy. It's gotten strange. I'll just tell you. There was OTEP and there was Responsible Ohio, and then there was a couple of other organizations in there that didn't ever do anything much. And then, Responsible Ohio went to the ballot and got defeated because it was a monopoly. And then OTEP stopped collecting signatures, I think. And then people left OTEP and the MPP came in. And now we want to find out what's going on in Ohio with marijuana in politics.
You're getting the full melt.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call, speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 2571.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions. Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dort Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. If you want to reach us here on the program, you can call up anytime. 844-420-TALK. It's toll free, 844-420-8255. We're talking today, at least during this segment, about Ohio. Boy, Ohio's it's gotten crazy there. I mean, first off, in an off-year election... So, an off-year presidential election cycle last year, Responsible Ohio decides to not only launch, but collect enough signatures to get on the ballot by the fall. And they did. And everybody was up in arms from a whole bunch of different standpoints. And I don't want to tell the whole story without dragging my friend from the Toledo Hemp Center, Kevin Spittler, in on the conversation. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on today. And thanks for putting on a great show. All of us in Toledo really enjoy listening in on it.
No, thank you very much for that. It makes me feel good when people have those reports to bring back to the show. I got to ask you about what's going on there, because all the people that I would normally call and ask these questions, now this is safe. There's been a couple of people that I haven't had a chance to call, and that would be Ohio. Uh-oh, crap, we lost Kevin. What happened there? That's what happens. Let's just try Kevin back. So I get Kevin back on the line here. Do.
There you are.
Are you? So I'm having regular phone problems. Am I having iPhone problems too? Is that what you're telling me?
Apparently. I think we're going. I got an Android here, but are we on the air now?
We are on the air.
Well, thanks for having me back.
No, for sure. What I started to say was this got all crazy and goofy in Ohio because Responsible Ohio, started to launch during an off presidential year election cycle. They not only decided to launch, but had to get on the ballot, but both qualify. They had to do everything within a really tiny period of time and did it all. They got it all done, made big news with Buddy, the big marijuana mascot and all that stuff. And they got to be infamous for their marijuana monopoly politics. And
right.
the voters came and said overwhelmingly inside that same year, let me think about it. No. And then the question was this because it was a monopoly, or was this because they tied marijuana retail to marijuana medical and it was too big of a bite? There was a lot of argument about that, wasn't there?
Right, absolutely.
And then after all that's done, Responsible Ohio on its face folds its books. The Facebook site comes down, all the stuff, you can't hear from Ian James anymore. Now, remember, Ian James, who I believe originally was from Ohio, is in Colorado and works for and is part owner of, if I'm not mistaken, a consulting firm who came in and branded up with the Responsible Ohio people. I'm sure he was probably paid well to do that. But then he disappeared, and the face of Responsible Ohio went away. I mean, the news was Responsible Ohio is no more. They buried that coffin. But is it buried, Kevin?
Well, to the normal eye, quite possibly, but to a lot of us that have been really involved with Ohio politics, especially on the marijuana end of it, we see a lot of the same players that were a really big part of Responsible Ohio now are integrated into the marijuana policy project in which we are talking about putting the medical marijuana initiative here on a ballot.
Okay, all by itself as a medical marijuana initiative only.
Right.
And it's backed with money. The first.
Well, we haven't seen it yet, so I mean, that's what they're saying. What is said and what we see it to be two different things.
Wait just a minute. Wait, there's got to be money, because if there wasn't money, why would the Marijuana Policy Project hire 3 Ohioans to head up their local campaign?
And that was an interesting part. Is they sent an email blast, I believe it was today or yesterday, asking for $100 donations, and if they didn't raise $900,000, that they were not going to put forward in Ohio and invest into it.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, so what you're saying is that there was an email circulating around saying, look, we're raising money today for this, and if we don't come up with enough individual contributions to equal almost $1 million right off the bat, MPP may duck its head and bow out. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I read today. I haven't been able to 100% verify it.
Wow. Okay, let's get the background on this, Kevin. So, excuse me. There's a couple of parts to this story we got to separate the wheat from the chaff from, so to speak, right?
Right.
So, the first part is MPP by itself. MPP, the Marijuana Policy Project, as it's been known, is an entity that helped and is responsible for assisting and a major assistance in getting the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act passed in 2008. Am I correct about that?
Right.
And they did not come in until A, the polling was sufficient. B, came in with philanthropic money, people making donations in a large order, but having no political affiliation to any group or any trade organizations or any business in particular, other than their own original businesses that are not marijuana related, the businesses from which they got that philanthropic money from, and turned around and invested it into Michigan's project. Michigan wasn't the first one. I mean, they helped California along the way, and they helped other states between California and Michigan. Excuse me?
I believe they helped out Colorado.
Correct.
And then they went into Maine. I believe Maine turned them away, didn't they?
I don't know enough about all that. I'm just trying to follow the line about MPP and what they used to be versus what they are now. They've changed a little bit. Because it used to be all philanthropic money. In other words, just people interested in the cause with a large amount of money that were willing to donate it to this nonprofit so that they could politically act in its favor. That's what MPP used to be. That's what they were when they came and helped Michigan get the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act done. But the only prerequisite was that, A, you had a strong grassroots organization that was developed, B, that you had attracted some money to that grassroots organization, and C, that you had a ballot language approved and the polling was appropriate. In other words, if they do the regular consensus polling just by, independent polling throughout the state, if it comes back in the 60 percentile or better in favor of whatever cause you're trying to get done, then MPP would be interested in helping back it. But it's got to be in the 60% mark. It can't be 50. It can't be 55. It's got to be like 60. Because then there's some assurance that the money that they put into this campaign at least went into a worthy place. But then, after MPP went through its last political cycle last year, and some people that used to, I guess the primary contributor to the campaign was an Ohioan, wasn't he? From the Progressive Auto Group.
Yeah, Lewis.
So Peter Lewis had a bunch of money. He was always philanthropic to this cause, and then Mr. Lewis died last year, didn't he?
Right. Or actually, it was
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so he died, but his direct input and contribution and participation with MPP is obviously missing Mr. Lewis now. And MPP has also spent a lot of that philanthropic dollar already in places across the country. So now in their new fundraising rounds, they intended to attract business because they didn't exist before in previous days. But now business is here and they've got money to contribute, and MPP is willing to take it. This has changed some things, hasn't it, Kevin?
Absolutely.
So because of that, I think, political spin put on it, the whole idea that big business is contributing to MPP, and then there was some changes at MPP. There were people that left, some very important people that were part of MPP as I guess, board members or employees, agents of MPP, completely left the organization. And not only that, but MPP then, when they came to Ohio, rather than saying, look, we'll back your existing poll positive ballot language with our money, given that we can find some agreement. And now instead of doing that, what we're going to do is say, we want to come in and we want to dictate what the law is going to be, whether we're going to do medical, and we don't think we should do medical, and we should just do medical. And we want to write the ballot language. That's different too, isn't it?
Yes.
So now, Responsible Ohio, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm just trying to set the stage for you to chatter from here because the rest of it I know nothing about. Because the people that, Jacob Wagner, first off, Sri Kavuru left Responsible Ohio. I'm sorry, not OTEP, Ohioans to End Prohibition. My mistake. Sorry, Sri, I did not mean to smear you like that. So Sri left OTEP, and Jacob Wagner, who's the other co-founder of OTEP, injured himself terribly, leaving no leader heading this organization. And in the meanwhile, they've changed their name from OTEP to LO, Legalize Ohio, in 2016. LO16 is what they're calling themselves now. So LO16 has no primary leader right now because its main leader is incapacitated. Its co-founder left the organization. And if I'm not mistaken, he's not even in the country right now at the moment.
Right. Correct.
So that being the case, this leaves the stage a shambles, doesn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, they announced they're throwing the towel in because lack of funds. I believe it was not but a week ago, and this all came after not even a month after Siri had stepped down for all these other reasons, and it just was so now at least is in a position of looking at a couple of different avenues with obviously Ohio Rights Group still is out there, but the main players for Ohio Rights Group are now involved with MPP. So they're not pushing that forward, and obviously we have
Ohio Rights Group is another organization that never really had any money. It had a lot of organization around it, a lot of support for it, but no money to speak for.
Right. Yeah, we only gathered like 160,000 signatures so far.
And then OTEP, I don't have any idea how much the Ohioans to End Prohibition initial gathering of signatures garnered, because I've got no report.
They said 80,000. I never got a verification of that, though, but yeah.
So they're saying that they actually got about half of what Ohio Rights Group did.
Right.
In way of signatures collected.
Yep.
And your barrier there is higher than in Michigan. In order to get a legislative proposal here on, we need, I think, 252,000 signatures inside of 180 days. You guys can collect indefinitely. I think there's no open. You guys can start collecting whenever, right?
Yeah, we can start collecting and collect for 5 years straight.
Oh wow!
And
but it's 385,000 signatures. Isn't that how many you need?
It's a certain percentage of the governor vote, I believe it is, and it matches around 360 to 380,000. It fluctuates per year, I believe.
There we go. So, right now, it doesn't look like, given the number of signatures that either of those groups collected in the last round, in the last year, since they announced, is anywhere near on pace to get it on the ballot, or at least even announced to be on the ballot. Like they couldn't even turn them in time to get on the ballot this year.
That's again them two organizations, Ohio Rights Group, the main players in that are now players with MPP, but they're also players in Responsible Ohio. Now Legalize Ohio, formerly Ohio is in Prohibition. Now, if you go to their information, they're now pushing people to sign up to volunteer for MPP.
So wait, you can't even go Knight to Rook 3 now because there are no longer like two players on the stage in any given moment. There are all these intermingled players that have no firm identification, no firm leadership, questionable money attached, questionable rules about money that might be coming in if they're going to attach it. Yeah, boy, what a scrambled egg mess, Kevin. I don't even know what to make of this. Is this a last-minute scramble with everybody trying to figure out where are we at, what we got, where can we go?
All right. It's going to be an interesting year this year. That's to say the least.
I tell you what, I'm glad you guys got your initiative done in Toledo.
Yeah, that's going to play a large part in it, I believe, as well. But, I mean, Ohio particularly, supports medical around 80% from what the polling's been doing the last couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But also at the same time, they, voiced support of 55+% for full legalization, and they voted it down only with 36% approval, I think.
Well, here's the other fish in the kettle, and this one's a rotten fish. Let's say that my assumption is right. For sake of argument's sake, let's just take for granted that the reason that Ohioans turned down Proposal 3 wasn't because it was a medical and recreational bill, but was really because of the monopoly issue. In my heart of hearts, that's what I believe. Nobody talked about the two issues being combined so much together as a news item. Most of what people talked about during that cycle was the fact that Responsible Ohio, in their eyes, whether it was actually correct or not, this was a monopoly that they did not want written into the state's constitution.
Right, absolutely.
If that is true, wait a minute, if that statement is true, then we've got the question of these original players. Ian James, ? MPP now involved with big business, ? Responsible Ohio players, what about those 10 grows? Boy, that just pops a lot of questions here. There are more questions than answers, which is probably why we haven't heard from any of these people.
Right.
I would venture to say that if Responsible Ohio's initiative did not contain the ballot language that had the part in there about the monopoly and the 10 limited grows and the special rights granted to those property owners and those licenses, that this probably would have gone over pretty easily, or at least been a very close vote, in which case it was not.
I would have voted for it, but I've seen it as the same pushes like your microbreweries. These are local guys that decided to open their own little business and start brewing beer for local taverns and restaurants or stores. I'm sorry. And then what I've seen in Responsible Ohio was like the Budweiser, and if we just had Budweiser brewing all the beer, we would have the local economy getting stimulated by me going and buying a craft beer and not going to a local guy. And that's what I've seen in with Responsible Ohio, and that's why I was against it. Is I believe in the local guys and the local economy stimulation in that fashion.
Well, okay, but you can say, let's say this. Let's just take your argument one step further. If I wanted to play devil's advocate on that point, I might use an example of, say, gasoline distribution. None of that's happening locally. It's all owned by big national corporations that have a local distillery nearby that distill those oil deposits down into their various components and then market them accordingly. That's what those big, round, giant containers are that are near the expressway at every major city. These are gas distilleries and the places where they store various components of that mix.
Right.
There's no local economy being stimulated there except for its distribution point, except for its point of sale. And then the only money being generated is going to that particular property owner. He employs some people, and he's got other business that happens around that distribution point, just like any other business. But it's not something that that you can't say like you did with there's nobody distilling local gas for the local market in the gas arena. Same thing goes with textiles. Same thing probably goes with everything right down to food that you buy. Am I correct about that, Kevin?
Pretty much.
But so I guess if people want to argue from the other end, from the big business end, they would say, hey, look, these models work across the country, already exist in plenty of places involving other commodities. Why can't we do this with cannabis? And I would say chances are they're going to be right. I don't know. I'm not taking argument. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Remember, I'm not an advocate. I'm just the middleman. Don't shoot the messenger.
Really, but at the same time, we have to look outside the box. And obviously, what were we doing the last who knows how many decades isn't working. Our economy is in shambles. It's time to start looking at something differently.
I would say a better argument might be, rather than the local craft beer model, a better argument may be the industry that springs up around these distribution points, be they medical or retail, right? That there's an entire industry that springs up around them, especially when you have diversified growing, because all of them need access in their local places to the things that they need to grow with.
And they're also going to spend the money they're making producing the product.
Correct. And then you do have a localized economy, but it's based on the fact that growers are dispersed throughout the state, and all the things that growers need to grow with in way of supply are also then, those distribution points are dispersed throughout the state because you want to be able to go to that local shop to get your vitamin B if that's what you need to put in your mix right now because you got some stressed plants going on. You've got to be able to go down there now and get it. They're stressed now. By the time you wait for it to come in the mail, they might be dead, right? Who knows?
And you're raising money that way. You're raising taxes through electric consumption.
Well, how about leasing space and employees? And I mean, the tax base goes far and wide when you start building industry around distribution like this.
Yeah.
And those are all local employees being locally employed, paying local taxes, and contributing to the local economy, including up until their own rent and their own car payments. And it goes right down the entire economic line, doesn't it? So
right,
I would say that might be a better argument instead of maybe kind of, if you're going out to make that point, instead of using the microbrew comparison because, you don't have this comparison with cigarettes, which is another close comparison. And speaking of cigarettes and the national model, go ahead and say it, Kevin. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I think it just keeps it nice and simple for most of people in society to understand it, and you're not going to look beyond it. It's a simple concept that keep money local, don't send it out somewhere else.
Well, and that's a great idea, but aren't people that are buying cars in Colorado sending their money back to Detroit when they're buying a U.S.-made car?
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying, I mean, it all counts. The dealership guy still made money. All his salespeople still made money. Their service departments still made money. All the people that sell gas and oil to prop up the maintenance and use of those vehicles, they all made money. Their employees, their leasers, the people they rent from, all those guys made money. Their suppliers, their distribution points, they all made money. The government made money from all those tax sources along sales and employment and payroll all along the way. Not to mention taxing the individual businesses for personal income tax, for business income tax. I mean, there's a huge base that the government's making money from, and also the local economy is benefiting from, no matter who is originating the product, in my opinion. And to further that point, did you see today? There was the story today about Marlboro. Did you see that?
No, I haven't.
So I don't know if I've seen it. Where did I put this story at? Actually, I saw it posted. I think I saw it posted in a Facebook post. And I think I reposted it, but
Facebook, it's true.
No. It was a post of a story on Facebook. But let me just see because I think I posted the story, but it takes a minute. It didn't like the link I put up when I put it up there. And so this is from medprecautions.com. Medprecautions.com. So they're sounds like they're an anti-drug company, right? Medprecautions.com. Washington, this story datelined today. Philip Morris Marlboro M brand marijuana cigarettes now for sale for U.S. states.
I seen it like 3 years ago.
No. They're talking about these. Actually, so this story did break a while back because I've seen it. I've seen part of it before, but it was always talking about. It was always talking about future plans.
Right.
They were wanting to be on the medical marijuana bandwagon, beginning the sale of marijuana cigarettes in Oregon, Colorado, Alaska, and Washington by November of last year. The product marketed under the brand name Marlboro M and available for sale through marijuana licensed outlets. And they have a quote in there from Philip Morris's senior vice president for marketing, said our company has been high on the idea for marketing cannabis and has been monitoring the market for some time. We finally made the decision to take the leap and support these states in their right to legalized recreational marijuana use. So now that's not saying, he did not say in that statement, and this article would like to infer the idea that they said, we're going to start selling this now. That is not what he said. He said they've made the decision to take the leap and support these states in their right to legalized recreational marijuana use. I imagine that's still in the vein of, because I could not see Philip Morris, the big national company with all of its liability attached, coming forward quite yet and saying, you know what, we're pot sellers now. Because look, they put the rest of their entire businesses at stake because they're attached through the Marlboro brand to cannabis sales. They'd still be in touch with the federal government, wouldn't they, Kevin, potentially?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So we got less than 30 seconds, Kevin. The music's starting. I just got to ask you, where do you think this is going, or is this just a big question mark? Are we still reading the tea leaves here in Ohio? Is this still formative?
I really don't know. Right now, I'm worried about the players that are involved, but until the language comes out, I can't really take a position. Hopefully, they bring something that's acceptable that we can work with. At the True Active Ohio can see something acceptable.
You're getting the full melt.
I've seen things no man should bear, and those that every man should dare. From the beaches of Normandy to the far reaches of the earth. In my life, I have lived millions of lives. I've outrun robots and danced with dinosaurs. I've faced the faces of fear and fortitude and witnessed great beauty in the making. I've kept the company of kings and queens, but I'm no royalty or saint. I've traveled, trekked, wandered, and roamed, only to find myself right where I belong.
Jeep. See your authorized Jeep retailer for details on how you can become a Jeep owner.
We ask people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit PetPain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. PetPain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
You know, you can hear us Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. right here at thefullmelt.com. Also available on Spreaker. And if you really want to go out on a limb, you can subscribe to our iTunes podcast. The link is right there at the top of the page. Also, our Facebook and Twitter links. Please follow and like us at both of those. As we explore the marijuana question today, Utah lawmakers advancing a broad medical marijuana bill through the Senate. They gave preliminary approval Monday to a medical marijuana proposal that would legalize edible, vapor, and topical pot products. Lawmakers voted 15-13. Now, this is not just an oil bill. We're talking about Salt Lake City here. Ding, 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 magic underwear Mormons. I'm not picking on the religion. I'm just saying it's a conservative place. It's probably one of the most conservative places in the nation, including more conservative than the American Southwest. Ask Orrin Hatch. In the Senate there, they gave approval to broad medical marijuana. They're talking about letting you smoke flowers, but they are letting you do edibles, letting you vaporize, and letting you use topicals. That's 3, not 1. Lawmakers voted 15-13 to advance the bill, saying it could help those with certain debilitating conditions who've not found relief through other medications. The senator that sponsored the bill, Mark Madsen, he's a Republican from Eagle Mountain, said the plan would allow tens of thousands of residents with those medical conditions to use the drug, but it would ban smoking it. That's right. Madsen expects a final Senate vote Tuesday. That's today. If approved, the measure must still be passed by Utah's House, and then probably, of course, signed by the governor. During the debate Monday, he promised that the proposal is no way a first step to the state legalizing recreational marijuana. That's not us, he says. This is Utah. It's not inevitable. The vast majority of states that have adopted medical marijuana programs have not adopted recreational marijuana programs, Madsen says. The vote took place the same day as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints softened its stance on Madsen's proposal while stopping short of endorsing it. The church said added restrictions to the plan late last week were substantial improvements. Church officials announced several weeks ago they worried that the plan would have unintended consequences. Madsen said Monday that he'd added controls to make Utah's proposal more restrictive than medical marijuana laws in other states. Under his bill, dispensaries would be required to have a clinical medical appearance, and all employees would be required to wear white lab coats. Oh, that's the difference there, Utah. It's all in the magic underwear. You don't have to worry about everything else. The underwear does it all, or in this case, the overwear. Yes, edible marijuana products and their packaging would not be allowed to resemble candy or be designed in a way that's appealing to children. See, this is another reverse spin on things. They're not making, okay, first place, if you're selling a food product, you're still selling a food product. It may be a medicated food product, but remember, it is still a food product. That means that when you eat said food, you must be, if you're going to purchase it, you got to know what it looks like. I'll tell you, anybody that has bought food before, you go to the grocery store, you don't see all the fresh produce out there packaged up in bags where you can't see what's inside for a number of reasons. Freshness, rot. I mean, these are perishables in there. But so let's just say, for example, I'll give you an example of dried cherries. If you're buying dried cherries, which are a rather expensive product, cherries are expensive, and especially if you buy them in the dried form, I don't know why. You try and find if you go to buy the canned cherries, not even those are cheap if you're buying like pie filling. But if you're going to buy the dried cherries, you're going to find them in a clear container. You know why? Because people don't buy dried food products in packages they can't see. And if they do sell them that way, beware. Because when you open them up, they're going to look horrible. People like to see what it is they're going to eat before they eat it. You're not putting on a blindfold when you're eating your dinner. When you're having food, when you're eating food, you're looking forward to food. The palate expects food. Your mind is expecting food. Your salivation is expecting food. Your stomach is gearing up for food. In order to do that, you need two things. It needs to look good. It needs to taste good. Absent those two things, you're not selling any food products. So if you disguise the way a food looks, you don't even know what it is. People aren't going to buy it. You could put clearly on the outside that this is the equivalent of a King Don. This is a King Don, but it's got pot in it. Right? It's a pot Don. Oh my God, I just coined a phrase. So you got your pot Don, but it's wrapped up in some opaque plastic or in some kind of box where you can't see what's inside, and it's, for safety consideration, sealed. Now, how are you supposed to assess that food and choose to buy it? Will you pick it up and squeeze it? Oh, I'm sure that by the 100th time that product gets squeezed, somebody's going to want to buy it. What is this, toothpaste? No, it used to be a pot Don. So the idea that Utah might say, look, you got to sell this in something where you can't see it. If it looks like a treat or a candy, it's got to be obscured. Maybe the answer to this question is this. See, I personally believe that pot and food go together in almost every way. And so for people to want to put pot in their food as a way of using the pot medicinally, or even just putting the pot in their food as a way of supplementing their diet, as a dietary supplement. You can't get pot, you can't get high from weed that ain't been heated. If you took the whole pot plant and put it in a juicer and juiced that thing, you'd never get stoned. Well, then why is it you can put the whole pot plant in some brownies and be stoned higher than you'd want to be? It's because you heated it. It's called decarboxylation. That's the process. It converts THCA, which is not psychoactive. That's what's naturally present on the plant. THCA, non-psychoactive, has no high-making ability, cannot make you high. But when you heat it up, it takes the A part off, converts it to THC in a process called decarboxylation, and it becomes THC, which is psychoactive. A lot of people, we're going to have a whole show about dietary pot one day. And about juicing as a whole, because most people don't understand the attractiveness of a raw juice bar. A raw juice bar says none of this food has been cooked, none of this food has been frozen, none of this food has been canned. Right? Because when you can it, you cook it. The reason they freeze and cook stuff is to kill the germs that would cause food rot or poisoning or spoilage. It's perishable. But if you do the process freezing or cooking, you also you kill all the enzymes. Enzymes are proteins, right? They're healthy proteins. And the proteins are all life-giving forces. These are alive. Enzymes are living, just like bacteria or just like virus. They're alive inside the food product, but they're not bacteria. They're not virus. They're enzyme. They're proteins. They're proteins with a keychain. And they go into your body and open up all kinds of locks that otherwise would make the absorption of certain things unavailable, inaccessible. Certain functions completely void without the keychain supplied by enzymes, which are not present in any food that's been cooked or frozen. So this is what's attractive by itself. This is what Jack LaLanne was telling you about before his passing. On the juice machine, Mr. Juice and all that stuff. Didn't Jack LaLanne pass away? I think he finally did. He used to be, the juice man on TV talking about his amazing juicer. I remember watching him, in reruns from the 50s, doing exercise on TV, and then again in the 60s and the 70s. I don't remember him doing it in the 80s. Maybe it was the early 80s. I remember seeing Jack LaLanne pieces. Anyway, Jack was a healthy guy because he believed in juicing. He believed in raw juices. Why would you juice? Because then it's concentrated. You can't eat a bag of carrots. You can drink a glass of carrot juice. Too much fiber in there. You'd never... Can you imagine what you'd have to do with all that fiber? But, so when you juice plants, you get all these enzymes, these life-giving enzymes, all these keys, all these things that are locked up in your body that are turned off because they've got no enzymes. You bring the enzymes in, they turn them all on. Boy, you feel life is full of vigor. Boy, you got some kick behind your shoe. I almost said something else. You don't want to know what I almost said. You got some kick behind you. That's all I'm saying. You've got some pep in your step. You feel like life's back on a good. What a great day it is today. You wake up feeling good. It's all because these enzymes have made your body healthy again because you're consuming them without killing them first. That's a good idea. So you do this with cannabis and you turn on the now turned off human endocannabinoid system. Maybe that thing is dysfunctional. It's not kicking them out like it used to. You certainly can't tell that there's a human endocannabinoid system because your body's not making any cannabinoids that are getting you high because they're not happening in quantities that you will notice. Your body makes cannabinoids, a bunch of them. And so when you reintroduce not only healthy enzymes, but healthy cannabinoid enzymes and also healthy, cannabinoids in a juice form that cannot get you high. Boy, you've opened the knob of a door that nobody else has access to, haven't you? Look at the healthy door access you just opened up that nobody knows about. Not even the ones in our own cannabis community. Yet the people in Utah, boy, I'll tell you what. If it's looking like a candy or some kind of thing that might be appealing or desirable to a child, you cannot sell it. A Republican from Spanish Fork voted against the plan, saying they had not talked enough about the health effects of marijuana. It isn't a harmless herb. And Utah already allows the marijuana extract called CBD, cannabidiol, to be used by those with severe epilepsy. But they're trying to get this broader thing passed. Let's see if they can get it done. We'll talk more about marijuana news after the break.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a NoSmell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about NoSmell technology at NoSmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit PetPain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. PetPain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
You darn tootin' it is. We got all kinds of stuff coming up. Boy, it's going to be a great big year in cannabis. I can't even tell you, I'm precluded from talking about it by virtue of agreement. They call that a non-disclosure agreement. Be partnering with some people this year and doing some things that you never would have thought would ever happen. Excited. I want to do a little dance. Oh, I'm dancing. You can't see me, but I'm on the radio. It's a good thing you can't, because I'm a terrible dancer. Dancing, because we got good stuff happening with cannabis. I'm not a good singer either. But I can dance like crazy. Nobody wants to look at it, but I can dance. I want to play this for you. Let's just get this out of the way. Listen to this. Oh, wait a minute. So they're going to make you watch a stupid commercial first. It's a commercial for some kind of food product. I don't know. What's for Hillshire? It's Hillshire Snacks. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here's the piece.
Well, imagine knowing of a new drug that could save your child's life, but being powerless to get it.
A Fairport physician is one of the few local doctors eligible to get medical marijuana. But as 13 Wham's Jane Flash reports in tonight's special edition, he can't give it to the person he wants to most, his own son.
It's time for some exercise with his service dog, Tanner.
You go for your walk?
This is a good day for Vincent Ognaby. The fist pumps show his excitement. Vinny lives life in constant motion.
If he's not swinging, he's got to be walking or bouncing, or he's constantly moving.
In our world, Vinny is autistic and nonverbal. As for his world, he navigates it with a language all his own.
We go through day to day not knowing if it's going to be a good day for him or a bad day.
When he was 18 months old, Vinny began to suffer epileptic seizures, sometimes as many as 400 a day. As he's grown, they're longer, less predictable, more violent.
When he has a seizure, I go down with him. He's lost his front teeth because he's hit so many times. He's had several head injuries. He's broken both arms. Everything's a danger for him. Hi.
It's difficult watching him suffer on a daily basis and knowing that there's something that could actually help him.
That something is medical cannabis. Every drug or drug combination available so far hasn't worked to halt his seizures. Patients in other states have found a component in marijuana does.
I support it all the way. You couldn't be in my shoes and watch my son and not be supportive.
Corinna is an emergency room nurse. Steve is a doctor. He's taken the state-mandated course. It means he can certify his cancer patients for medical marijuana. Yet the way the law works, he can't use it to help his son.
If Vincent has an ear infection and there's none of his doctors around, I feel very comfortable prescribing him an antibiotic, but medical cannabis is a very, very touchy subject. We're walking a very thin line from a medical legal standpoint.
Columbia Care is now dispensing medical marijuana at its Rochester pharmacy, but few doctors here are on board. Patients must find doctors who are registered, but who also treat their specific illness. So many who fought so hard for it to be legal are still fighting for access.
Yeah. They've got billboards about how Rochester is a leader in national leader in neuromedicine, and I think it's time for them to step up and put their money where their mouth is. Every minute that goes by is another minute that we wish he could be living life to its fullest.
You're so sweet.
The Ognabines won't stop fighting for Vincent because every minute that goes by can also bring the unthinkable.
You're powerless.
Exactly.
You're paralyzed in your fear of, when is it going to be the biggest one, the biggest seizure, Is he going to start breathing again? Show everybody how you swing.
Jane Flash, 13 WHAM News.
Now, patients can only be certified by doctors who treat their specific condition.
330 doctors have been certified across the state, but the health department does not intend to provide that list to patients who are seeking a doctor because their own is not on board with medical marijuana.
And that's how it goes. I mean, this is the plight of medical marijuana patients across the country. Your plight hasn't ended when your state passes a medical marijuana law. Let me tell you how that can happen. Well, let's see. My condition's not listed even though we know that it has a beneficial effect. That's a problem. Because now once the law does get put into place, assuming that there's a place in place to add conditions to the list, which not all states may have, and then access to that list might be very restricted by way of, studies that haven't been performed because of the prohibition on doing medical marijuana whole plant studies. The government won't give them the marijuana to do the studies with. They want them to synthesize it. And when they do, they want them to synthesize each different cannabinoid, isolate it, and predict for that. It's not doable. Because the FDA, the DEA, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, the ones with the keys to the chest to grow the marijuana and also to get rid of the marijuana they've grown to legitimate places, a.k.a. medical patients that the federal government still provides cannabis to. There's still 4 of them around living and kicking and doing their thing, getting their medical cannabis from the U.S. government. But more importantly, NIDA controls not only the amount of marijuana that they grow, but also who has access to it. And the only other ones who would legitimately have access to it are those doing medical studies. And you can't do a medical study where it's prohibited by its scheduling, by its classification. It's classified as a Schedule I substance. A Schedule I narcotic has no legitimate medical purpose, no legitimate medical use. I say the one that isn't legitimate is the one that makes that claim about anything. You can't find a medical use for something unless you seek it out. And if you're prohibited from seeking out medical use and restricted from access to testing for that purpose, how can you ever in the world produce anything for a state organization that was proposed and put together for the sole and exclusive purpose of approving new conditions added to the list of medical marijuana conditions in their state? You can't produce the evidence because it isn't forthcoming. Nobody's created the evidence, not because it wasn't available to create, not because there wasn't medical efficacy involved, not because marijuana wouldn't stand up like any other medicine in a trial, except for the idea that they can't isolate substance. Because marijuana is so many substances, it's so many cannabinoids that all have specific effects, specific things that they do inside your body that the FDA and the DEA and NIDA don't like it. Because when you can't isolate something and talk about what that specific thing does or does not do, what its effects are or are not, what its side effects are or are not, we won't let you run a clinical FDA study on it because we've got no way to verify its efficacy or its poison or anything else.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.